Kevin McHale, before he had the 56, did you look at him as a guy who can absolutely dominate a game, or was he a guy that was really good, but really you can't count on him to get you a 50-point ball game?
Well, I don't know about counting on him to get a 50-point game, but you knew he could get 30. And that's one of the things that I thought was really interesting about our team. You know, Cedric Maxwell had been playing a lot. Kevin obviously moved into that starting position. Kevin, with his length, with his footwork, supreme confidence in his ability not only to knock down the 14, 15-footer, one dribble to a spot, one dribble to the rim, up and under. He had all of that game. And Larry had great confidence in him. I mean, Larry would specifically, when we ran the offense, if you threw it to Larry and it was, Larry come off a pin down on Kevin, he wouldn't come off looking to shoot. Brian, that's an indication that if you got a guy that's in position to score, you throw him the ball. And that's what Larry did with him. So we knew he was capable of scoring. I didn't see the 56 points coming. I will not tell that tale.
Now, he is coming into his own right here. He is dominating night and night. I think he had 43 the next night. So the year before, he came off the bench. Now, do you feel like, oh, man, this guy's established as a Hall of Famer? It's like he's a starter. He's a big-time all-star player?
I knew he was going to be a big-time player for us. I didn't think there was any question about that. I'm not sure if I thought Hall of Fame, but I knew at the end of the day, Brian, this is about guys you can count on to do what they do. You knew Kevin can score. Can he score? Can he score consistently? Can he score consistently in big games? And he started to show those kind of signs, and that's really a good thing for anybody. I mean, all of our teammates felt good about him. I have to, again, say, playing. When you've got a guy that you've got your number one player has confidence in, then you got a guy that could play. Larry would throw the ball to Robert because he knew how Robert needed the ball, just because all guys need the ball at some point. Kevin, he threw the ball because Kevin usually had a mismatch. With his long arms and the footwork, he had a mismatch somewhere and was able to get off a good shot. And that's what you have to do in the league.
Kevin McHale is a Hall of Fame player. Compare him to a guy nowadays. It feels like his style of play is like a lost art form now.
It is. No, I don't think there's any doubt about it. First of all, you don't see post up. You and I see you all the time. Matter of fact, last time we were talking about it, we saw each other. It was the last game, respectively, that both teams played. But no, you don't see Kevin's game anymore because guys they don't post up. But he was unique. He was unique in the post up because he wasn't a guy that brute strength and put brute strength to try to get to position. He just kind of, with that length, just faced you, walked you down, and then he could get it off the block a couple dribbles and still be able to get himself in position to get a shot that you'd had a hard time challenging. You don't see anybody in a game like that today.
I really want to dive into the Pistons, who we had on this show earlier with some classic matchups. Mm-hmm. This Piston team, they're young. They have a young, dynamic player in Isaiah Thomas. What did you guys think of the 85 Pistons at the time?
Well, you hit on a lot of it. You're young. They're a young team, but you knew they were going to have to be a team to deal with. I'd known Isaiah since he was in high school, so I knew he was going to try to find a way to build up his team and try to play against the Celtics, because that's really, everybody has to kind of, if you will, climb over the next team, if you will. Philadelphia, big hurdle for the Celtics. When you get a championship, you talk Lakers, but in the East. So you had that. You thought Milwaukee was going to have it a little bit, and Philadelphia really kind of slipped. Detroit kind of slipped in there. Isaiah did a terrific job in getting guys who I thought played hard, and then you can make the argument that in those days it wasn't necessarily excessive, but it became something more than that later. But they just played hard, and they were highly skilled, and you knew that they were a team you're going to have to deal with.
I know you guys grew to hate the Pistons. Did you guys have that at this point? Like, were you guys thinking, man, I really hate this team, Bill Laimbeer, and the way that these guys play?
Didn't like the way they played at all. Thought it was excessive. There's no question about it. Because Bill took a couple shots at Larry that, quite frankly, should have been an all-out what it was. It got to be a difficult time. He took one at Robert Parrish, and Robert ended up getting in fights with him. And the game was much more physical, but no one wanted to ever put somebody's career at stake. And Detroit, in trying to be that bad boy kind of image, that's what they were doing. They were putting careers at stake. And from there, you're looking at a rivalry that just heightens the intensity, the heat of that rivalry when it appears as though you're putting guys, not appears, on occasion, you put guys' career at stake, and nobody should do that.
Now, you played with Kent Benson. He was a former #1 pick. He's on the Pistons, and McHale is working him. I know when I talk to my friends that get worked by my current teammates, I lay into them. Were you laying into Kim Benson a little bit?
I didn't lay into Kent because I knew it was more than Kent could handle, quite frankly. You have to kind of know your personality. You, by the way, don't care about the personality you're talking to. I know I've got a sensitive guy in Kevin. I mean, in Kent. But here's my point about that, and I think that's a great question. Kent played on our championship team and when I was out of college, but he also Larry had come to visit Indiana University, decided to go to Indiana State, and frankly, I'm not sure Kent gave the respect to Larry that Larry deserved when Larry came. Larry always intended to play really well against Kent Benson. And now Kevin's got it. Kevin knows about Larry's intent. And if you know Kevin's personality, like all of us, we all want to be liked, loved, whatever that's about. He wants to make sure he maintains Larry's respect. So Larry is feeding him the ball so he can give it to Kent Benson. Kent was overmatched. There's just not any question about it. And Kevin didn't have to be hot. Kent was a guy that probably was more of a shooting center than he was playing power forward. At any rate, Kevin went to work on him, and there wasn't a thing Kent could do about it. And I don't tease Kent about that. I think he got enough that day. He doesn't need any more teasing about that.
As soon as McHale went to the bench, the Pistons got right back into this game, but then McHale put them away. You mentioned earlier about Larry and Kevin. Larry had the record at 53, but it did seem to me that he was looking to get Kevin McHale involved. He was looking for McHale to have a big night. Were you guys all that way back in the day? Just really wanted other people when they're having a night to get it going?
I think that's part of why the team was successful, because you're looking as much as the team success is very much a part of guys having the night going. Now, when a guy's hot, Brian, you give him the ball.
Yeah.
And so that's what Larry did. He gave him the ball, and Larry would come off a down screen of Kevin, come back, get the ball, and raise it over his head. You've got to cover Larry because Larry can make the shot. Larry was just letting Kevin, he'd wait on Kevin to get in the position that Kevin wanted to get it in, and he'd throw him the ball and just let him go to work. And once the guy gets going and he's hot, you just keep feeding him, and feeding him, and that's what we did.
There's a lot of talk about Larry saying you should have gone for 60. Was Larry outspoken about that right after the game, telling McHale, listen, that ain't going to be enough. I'm going to break that record?
Well, he didn't say I'm going to break that record, but he did say that ain't enough. You should have. I think he said something along the lines that you should have got 60. And then he, shortly thereafter, I remember, I think we played it was the Atlanta game where we in New Orleans, believe it or not. I remember the night before being whatever it was, but I'm watching Larry in that game, and listen, we had seen Larry do some fantastic things in practice, but the real incentive from Kevin getting the 56 had Larry ready to play that night. And that's why not only were the Celtics excited about Larry getting 60, if you look at the highlights, you can see the Hawks are giving each other 5 and giving pounds because Larry's making shots like they've never seen before. Frankly, we hadn't seen much of it, but a big part of that is just the relationship I think Larry and Kevin had. Because for Larry is what he is because he always worked to be the Celtic, the top Celtic for all practical purposes. That was really important to him. And if Kevin's going to get 56, Larry wants to be the one, all right, I'm going to get more than that. 60 puts it right on the mark.
Now, what did Kevin McHale say after you guys got back in the locker room in that New Orleans Atlanta game?
He was pretty much – Kevin knew he had gotten off to a good game. He wasn't going to be braggadocious about it. Listen, He knows he's got Larry at the locker. He's not going to be braggadocious about it. Danny would tease him a little bit just because Danny and Kevin just had that kind of relationship. But Kevin's not wild. He's smart enough. Don't poke the bear. Don't poke Larry.
Yeah, when this is going on and you have Parrish, Bird, and McHale. I know we do this a lot nowadays, but are you recognizing this is the greatest front court of all time, past and probably in the future?
Listen, you and I know about the past. These guys were phenomenal. I'm just telling you, phenomenal. Whatever you needed done in the front court, they could get it done. Larry did a really good job, I thought, at understanding personalities. Larry's not a vocal leader, wasn't a vocal leader, but he was a leader that understood the personalities and what they needed. He knew Kevin needed the ball in order to be effective in terms of rebounding and scoring. He knew Robert protected us in terms of blocking shots. So you got to get him the ball periodically, keep him engaged. And that's really why I thought that the Celtics were really good. I thought Casey did a good job of, if you will, just finding the right time to interject whatever he thought he needed to. But, yeah, it was, you know, as you get older, you realize, man, those guys were really good. And it was a lot of fun to play with them because you had three options. I, frankly, used to have, you know, Casey would call a play, and I may switch Robert and Kevin just to get Robert the ball. But they were that good that you wanted to make sure, give Robert a little bit of something because Kevin's going to get it going. So you just keep guys involved in the game. And that's just the way we play.